Hi, I'm Beth Justice with SIPA, and with me today is Jon Sibray, SIPA's Chief Technology Officer. Jon, welcome to SIPA's podcast, GovTech Now. Tell me, what have you been working on since you've been with SIPA?
Hi, Beth. Thanks for having me on. I'm excited to be here. Yeah, I've been at SIPA here a little over 3 months, and as a former customer of SIPA's, I'm definitely excited to be a part of this amazing team. You all are small but mighty, and the spirit of service definitely resonates with me in supporting our government partners who are serving Colorado's residents. So I'm working on a number of things. Onboarding into SIPA and learning more about our local government entities is certainly one part of it. But I'm also thinking a lot about product and product management as I look at our content management system, the websites that SIPA helps to oversee. This is the portal aspect of our name. I'm also looking at the suppliers that we are offering up and considering what we have in the portfolio, thinking a lot about AI, especially the agentic parts of that, and then definitely security and the landscape in that space. So those are some of the things I'm thinking about. Product is particularly of interest because when I worked on Universal Preschool, I was first introduced to SIPA at that point, being able to quickly procure and bring things into the technology space and recognizing how an agile procurement strategy is such a key to the success of the products that we're bringing about. So the team that I was working on, we had a very short timeline in that front, and we were able to partner with SIPA to bring in different services and products very quickly to meet that short timeline. And so I'm looking to bring that into SIPA, definitely that product mindset. And some of you may remember the Agile Manifesto from the early 2000s, but that's something that still definitely resonates with me very much, that we need to really be focused on outcomes and value delivery. And I want to help bring more of that to our local governments and state agencies so that at the end of the day, we've got the technology and an agile procurement path that can support success for them. So I'm specifically thinking about that here at SIPA and how we're providing that value to you all through the use of websites, the custom applications that we provide. So that's very much something that is top of mind in my world. And I'm also thinking a lot about AI, as I'm sure many of you all are as well, especially the agentic components and what that's going to bring about in terms of changes of how we work. And SIPA is looking at experimenting with some agents internally in terms of how we work, and thinking a lot about how we harness AI, like how you create that structure and framework around it to ensure that it's safe, ensure that it's being authentic and trustworthy. And one of the things I've found particularly interesting in that space is it's almost like hiring an employee in a way. You're giving the AI a set of instructions, which is, essentially its job description, if you will, giving it parameters of what it is permitted to do on its own. And then also the controls that are surrounding that. These are the things that it's needing to ask permission to do. These are tasks or functions that it is expressly forbidden from doing. And then how do you also control around that as well, just like you would with a regular employee by limiting access or permissions and role-based access controls. So those are some of the things thinking about. Also, one other quick thing I'll squeeze in, which is security, and fascinating with what Mythos is bringing about in terms of being able to find vulnerabilities. We're in a very unique, I think, gap at this point where we still have applications and software that have been developed without AI that probably have more vulnerabilities that could be chained together. But I'm very optimistic about the future because software and apps developed with advanced AI will likely perhaps be bug-free for, I think, the first time in the history of applications, which I think is an incredibly powerful and changing feature where I think our patch management is going to look very different in the future. So very interesting security implications there. But yeah, there's a lot going on, Beth. So
yeah, I'm sure your plate is really full trying to get your head around everything that SIPA does at this point, and especially with the product offerings. But I want to get back to the agentic AI. We talk about it, we hear about it, we read about it. I haven't heard anybody in our space here in Colorado who's actually trying to implement that. So is this something that you're passionate about, that you've done a lot of research on? Are you picking a small or large project? What does that look like?
It's definitely something I'm very passionate about. There are many different layers to what we're considering and what I've been thinking about in terms of agentic AI, because I We are seeing a massive investment in the private sector into AI and into agentic, especially in the different ways to harness and structure that type of technology. But I think in the government space, we've got to be particularly careful, especially around, what is it that it means to interact with government? So I think there's a whole philosophic discussion that can take place. And then there are also the technical realities of it, including cost, right? And will the costs come down in terms of being able to run that agentic AI? So here at SIPA, we are starting very small. We are looking at an agentic AI agent that will help manage our centralized inbox. And we're going to be starting very carefully and very thoughtfully. And we're partnering with a very small company that has been on the cutting edge with some industry partners in the private sector, mortgage companies, banking, insurance, things like that. And looking at how might this work in the government sector. And so it's basically going to be working within that inbox and limited both by access control and also its own harness in terms of how it interacts. So it will be pulling messages and then making suggestions that are definitely with a human in the loop. But that's how we're dipping our toe in the water. And we'll be excited to share more details about how that works with all of you, hopefully here in the coming months. But we've got to help push on this innovation. It's going to change. I think it will change in the government space, but just wanting to make sure we do it thoughtfully and that we here at SIPA are prepared to help support you all in your explorations as well.
Well, that sounds really like an exciting project. So I'll be able to watch that since I see the inbox and see how that ends up turning out. But I'd ask you about lessons learned. So we'll have to have you back to do that. I'm sure people would love to reach out to you as well to talk about maybe product delivery, maybe security and agentic AI or anything else. Would you be willing to take some of those calls in and meet some people, especially in the local government space, since you've mostly been with state government and education?
Absolutely. I would love to connect in with the community. That's one of the key parts of in my first year here at SIPA that I really want to get to know everyone, especially learning the specific challenges and opportunities that local governments are facing, stay connected up with my state agency colleagues, make new colleagues. Definitely here, I would love to be a resource to help support and ensure that SIPA is that trusted advisor for all of you. So yeah, absolutely. I'm all in. And yeah, I'd be curious to see how that inbox works as well, Beth. So hopefully we can free up some of that time and we can stay connected up more closely with our government customers.
That's great. So Jen, I have one last question for you. So since SIPA works around the entire state of Colorado, I'm going to ask you, what's your favorite thing to do here?
That is probably one of the toughest questions, Beth. I love Colorado. I live in the mountains west of Denver. Probably my number one favorite thing is mountain biking. My kids are really into mountain biking, and I enjoy spending a lot of time with them on the trails around Colorado. It depends on the time of year, if it's spring or fall, definitely out in Fruita. If it's in the summer, love riding around the Netherland area where I live, and then sometimes also grabbing the Wyoming Trail up there by Steamboat. So those are some of my favorite things. And then you can find me at Eldora skiing in the winter.
Well, you sound like a real outdoorsy person, perfect for Colorado.
I don't know. I'm lazy by probably Colorado standards, some of the folks out there, but yeah, I definitely enjoy it and love being in the state.
Well, Jon, thank you for sharing with us today on GovTech Now. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, Beth. Thanks for having me on and look forward to connecting with all of you.
All right. Bye-bye.
On SIPA's next podcast, we'll hear from Brandon Williams with Eagle County, who's now moved over to Google. Can't wait to hear what he has to share with us. Look forward to seeing you soon.
We're kind of caught in a chicken or egg kind of tussle.